Good day, everyone. Welcome to English 113 Teaching and Assessment. We are now on Sample Lesson 4, teaching the difference between past simple and present perfect through minimal sentence pairs. I am Erika Bay Buenafe, your reporter for today. In this example, the teacher is contrasting two easily confused verb structures. The class are familiar with both these structures but have met them only separately rather than in combination. So, there are 3 steps in teaching the difference between past simple and present perfect through minimal pairs. Step 1. The teacher writes the following 3 sets of sentence on the board. He asked the class first to identify the 2 verb structures in each of the sets and establishes that each sentence A is an example of present perfect, while each sentence B is an example of the past simple. If students are in any doubt about this, he quickly recaps the rules of form for each of these structures. Next is step 2. He then asks the learners to consider the differences in meaning in each case from 1 to 3, and to see if they can come up with a general rule for the difference between the present perfect and the past simple. He allows them to discuss this in pairs. In checking this task, he elicits that the present perfect is used to talk about experience but without specifying when it happened. The past simple, on the other hand, is used to talk about a specific experience, often at a specified past time. To clarify this point, he draws the following timelines on the board and asks students to match them to the examples A or B. So take a look at the timelines. First timeline represents the present perfect because there is no specified experience, while on the second timeline, there is only one arrow, which means that there is only one specific experience, or it is specified. And now the last step. He divides the class into pairs and sets them the following exercise, which requires them to choose between the 2 forms. So this is the example. So the students are tasked to put the verbs in the brackets in the present perfect or in past simple form to complete this job interview between an interviewer and a candidate. The aspect system of English lends itself to such contrast, where the difference between, for example, "Have you seen my daughter?" and "Have you been seeing my daughter?" can have important implications. The teacher needs to choose lexically simple examples with fairly self-evident context sentences. In other words, that are not problematic in the way that authentic data can often be. In step 1, the teacher presented the minimum number of paired sentences necessary to convey the target grammar contrast, where the students are tasked to identify the 2 verb structures in each of the sets and establishes that each sentence A is an example of the present perfect, while each sentence B is an example of the past simple. Step 2 demands basic command of grammar terminology on the part of the learner, where it is stated that the present perfect is used to talk about experience but without specifying when it happened. The past simple, on the other hand, is used to talk about a specific experience. And step 3 is an essential stage in the presentation. It also shifts the focus back on the learners because they are tasked to put the verbs in the brackets in the present perfect or in the past simple form. And now let us know what are the E factor of the sample lesson 4. The minimal pairs approach is designed to overcome the lack economy of a generative situation. By getting straight to the point, the minimal pairs presentation combines the best features of an explanation-driven approach and discovery approach. It is also relatively easy to plan and set up, and it is therefore a useful way of dealing with problems as they arise. In terms of efficacy, it relies heavily on the choice of example 2 sentences. Letter A, they've been painting the kitchen. Letter B, they've painted the kitchen. Whereas, with slightly more context, the difference in meaning starts to take shape. Letter A, what a mess! Yes, they've been painting the kitchen. Letter B, the flat is looking nice. Yes, they've painted the kitchen. And now let us proceed to A factor. The direct and uncompromising grammar focus of this approach is particularly suitable for adult students who are not deterred by an analytical approach to language learning. By incorporating an element of discovery learning, it can also foster in classes that work well at problem solving. Younger learners or learners who prefer more experiential approach to language learning may find this approach to grammar dry and unmotivating, especially if the distinction they are being asked to identify are not transparently obvious. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening. Again, I am Erica B. Buenafe, your reporter for today. Goodbye.